Harris. I'm the director of a company from Bury St Edmunds in Suffolk called Urban Forestry, and I'm an arborist who specialises in veteran and ancient trees. Today we're carrying out some vetranisation work on behalf of the RSPB here in Sherwood Forest. Vetranisation is an experimental technique that's been around probably 30 or 40 years now. The intention of it is to try to mimic habitat features that we see in old trees in young trees. Those young trees are trees that would ordinarily be removed. Don't worry that we're cutting trees. These trees would have been removed. But as we retain them, we're putting in habitat features that will mimic stuff that we see in old trees, which is really good for rare and niche species. The techniques for vetranisation work are varied, and the great thing about this type of work and why we really love doing it is it means that we look at old trees carefully, and then it's our imagination is the only thing that limits us. So we're trying to view different habitats that we see in old trees, and then we try to mimic them mechanically through pruning and cutting. Why is that this is a good thing is because we realise that there's a gap now between our youngest trees and our oldest trees. In the oldest trees and our veteran and ancient trees, we get these rare and niche species that use them, invertebrates, saproxylic species, even fungi, things like that. And what we are concerned about is that gradually over time, as the older trees gradually die out, that there isn't a generation in between them and the generation of trees that we see around us now. So the idea is to try to link the old trees to the young trees by mimicking this habitat and by pruning in habitat features. Managing forests or managing trees and woodland has gone on almost since time has begun. You know, from people using fire to cook originally and things like that, right through to when wood was the #1 product for construction, for houses, for tools, and also for warming yourself. So forests have always been managed, and we live on a small island and we only have sort of 12–13% coverage of woodland at the moment. So there's always been a lot of pressure on woodland to produce things. And so if you look at a woodland now and you think that it's just a natural thing that's occurred, it's very unlikely that we have any wildwood left in the UK. So all woodland pretty much are managed or have been in their past. Of course you can let this happen naturally, and that's a good point. And some people who don't understand what we're doing often do say this. Problem is that it's with climate change and other reasons, it's just about the speed of things. There's the speed of change, and also in the UK we have the largest collection of ancient trees in Europe, bigger than the whole of Europe put together. So when we see ancient trees in the UK, we're very lucky because we see lots of them. But in other parts of Europe where there aren't so many, vetranisation is even more important. So we've been developing these techniques in the UK and in Sweden and in Norway, but there's a much wider, Europe-wide theory behind it, why it's important. So it's not just important for the UK, but it's important for places that have fewer old trees as well.